So I've had this idea for a while, something I want to do a little custom charging on my DeWalt batteries. And everyone's got one of these chargers if they have the 20 volt or 12 volt max DeWalt batteries, and it's a great charger. You know, it tells you when it throughout blinks if something's wrong or what, if it's charged or if it's powered, if you have problems and all that good stuff. But you really don't know what the battery state is unless you can grab one and you can press the little button if you have the thing. Like this one says it's fully charged. It's got 3 bars. And this one I ran down last night and it came back and now it says it has 1 bar, but we still don't know what the voltage is. And a lot of people think that these 20 volts are better or higher voltage than all the other 18 volts, but they're just the same. It's just a play on words, of course. So I have this custom charger that I've used for other lithium polymer batteries with remote control cars, and it'll charge about any type of battery you can think of, as far from lithium to nickel batteries and even lead acid batteries. It's a smart charger. It looks complicated, but it really isn't. But anyways, most lithium battery packs, well, here's one I got, have a balance port charger, and that's to ensure that the battery stays balanced, essentially. And so do these DeWalt batteries. If you look here, I don't know if you can see, but there's a bunch of little slots in here that when you plug into a charger, it monitors each individual cell so it stays balanced. Now it does that without without telling you anything of the status. And of course, if one of those cells were to go bad, it would just blink red and wouldn't charge. It would just say the battery's bad or something. Most of the time it does a good job balancing them out. But another thing that it doesn't do is it just fully charges your battery when it's dead. You just put it in and leave it and you come back and it's charged. Well, a lot of these batteries I won't use for half the year now that winter's coming. I'll put them away. These 5 amp hour batteries I got came with the weed eater and the blower that DeWalt came out with, and I still have a bunch of other batteries for all my other stuff that I normally use and keep charged. But you don't want to just fully charge these batteries and leave them. A lot of guys do it, and the older backs, you'd fully charge them, and after 6 months they would lose a good portion of their charge, so you have to recharge them. And these self-discharge a lot slower than a normal battery, but it hurts the life of the battery when you leave them fully charged. And so I wanted to be able to storage charge them. A lot of people don't realize that by keeping them about half charged prolongs the life of the battery. You don't want to leave them fully dead either. That hurts them just about as much. And you can see this one's got 1 light right now. I'm going to plug it in, and it seems to work just fine. But you can see when I put power to it, it's really close to dead. It came back a lot. So let's do a little experiment. It shut off and wouldn't run at all last night for me. And so what I did was I took my trusty DeWalt charger apart so I could rub out this piece here, the slider piece. You can see the wires poking through there. Now, here's what I did with it. I took it out and I soldered on my own connections of a balance port that a lithium polymer battery would have, a 5-cell, because these are 5-cell batteries. And I also added a 3-cell one for the 12 volt batteries, because it'll charge them as well. And so here's the other parts that'll go right into the battery charger here that I soldered on, and I put a bunch of plastic dip on it to make it all rigid. So now, very carefully, without touching these 2 ends together, so that'd be a dead short, I'm going to plug this in here, and now I have this little handy dandy voltage indicator, and it'll beep at you when it's at, you can preset it for different voltages, but it'll beep at you when it gets too low. So we're going to plug it in and see what it says. For normal lithium polymer batteries, it's recommended not to discharge it past 3. Now lithium ion, it's about the same. That's what these packs are, lithium ion cells. Let me see, you can see now it tells you all the individual cells, and they aren't quite perfectly balanced. They're a little bit off. but not too bad. Yeah, they're pretty close. So it's right down to the line. One's at 3 volts, one's at the highest is about 3.1. So pretty close. So now, that doesn't mean a lot. I know, we already knew it was dead from the button. But now we know exactly what the cells are. So what I'm going to do now is plug this in, charger. I'll plug this balance port in. I keep popping out. 5 cell. Now I'm going to plug this battery into the charger. Move it right here so maybe you can see this. See it or not? It might not be. It's kind of hard to see. Now, there's a bunch of functions this charger will do. Like I said, it's on balance. There's a fast charge, storage charge, and it'll even discharge them too if you would like to, bring a fully charged pack down. Just regular charge. So, instead of fully charging it, which I thought I would do, I think I'm just going to do a storage charge on it. But we're going to keep track too. This charger does a lot of monitoring of voltage, and it'll actually keep track of how much power you put into the battery. So what else we can do is now we can decide if this is actually a true 5 amp hour pack by monitoring how much power goes into it. DeWalt says it's a 5 amp pack. I'm guessing it's slightly less. They usually are, but it might be pretty close. We'll just find out. So now I got under storage charge, and I had this already set to lithium ion. My other ones are lithium polymer, but this is a lithium ion. So it'll charge it up to 4.1 volts per cell max. It'll stop after that. So you do the math what the total voltage will be. It says 18 volt 5 cell right there, but that's the nominal voltage. I got it set at 1 amp. I'm going to bump it up to 2 amps once it starts. So there it says it's cooking away at 2 amps. Now, what else we can do while it's charging, you see there's the voltage coming up, 15.8, and you can see the other numbers right there coming up. That's how much power is going into it, and there's a timer, of course. You press this other button, now it shows all the individual voltages of each cell again. It's keeping track of that. And so now it's going to charge. So we're just going to let it be. Now, if this was fully dead, it wasn't quite fully dead. You saw it still ran the drill a little bit, but I can assure you if you start pulling on it, it wouldn't last very long. It was pretty close to being dead. So now we're going to let this cook for a while. Okay, it's been about an hour and a half. I can verify it now by looking again. What our timer says 87 minutes, and to my surprise, it's just about to hit 2500. There it hit. So it's put half the pack's rated charge back into it, and it's just floating at 0.4 amps at 8.5 volts. So the battery is just about half charged, really close. And there's all the cells. They're kind of fluctuating greatly, but I'm going to stop it right there. So, and it's still cooking away, putting power to her. But to my surprise, this 5 amp pack might actually be right at 5 amps, which is good. That's what we're paying for. So, I'm going to stop this for a moment. We're going to do a little checking around. Checking the voltage. Of course, we know what this one is. It's half charged, so I'm going to unhook it. But what I'm going to do is show you what a fully charged pack looks like as far as the voltage goes off a DeWalt charger. Fresh off the charger, it was fully charged when I showed you earlier, but I just stuck it back on to make sure it was fully charged off the DeWalt charger. I'm going to hook it up and hook up my little voltage indicator again. And this is what a fully charged one looks like. 5 cell, 20.2 volts, 4.03, 3.99, 4.12, 4.04, 4.05. Now, as you can see, like this other battery, one cell is a little higher than the rest, 4.1. Theoretically, if this is a lithium ion battery, you could charge each cell up to 4.1 max rated. So that would be 20.5 volts max, 20.5. Now this one's at 20.2, but the battery charger stopped because one cell is already slightly over, 4.12, and the rest still aren't there yet. Now, you know, if you discharge it and charge it a few times, it might balance itself out, and it might get even worse, but that's generally pretty close. You know, it's not that far off. Now this charger will probably get a little closer, but it isn't perfect either, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be close, like it is now. When you start getting a half a volt out of sync, then that's a lot, and that could start to indicate one cell is bad or going bad or a little bit worse than the rest. So, to my surprise, like I said, this pack at now is half charged. If you push the button, it's two bars. So this would be an ideal voltage to storage charger. But now I'm going to stick it back on the charger, and we're going to fully charge it. And see, it should take theoretically 2,500 more milliamps or 2.5 amps more to be fully charged. And so if it is a 5 amp pack, then that all stands correct. So I'm going to hook it back up. This time on the charger, lithium ion. Let's see if I can get this to show. Got it hooked up right. I'm going to go to balance. Now this charger will do a fast charge, and that's kind of what most chargers like the DeWalt charger does. It's, you know, it's a race to get it charged because no one likes to wait for a dead battery to charge. And so that's why this battery that I showed you earlier wasn't quite balanced perfectly. You know, one was out. But I'm going to go on balance to see if it will charge this other battery more balanced than the DeWalt did. And it should. It'll give it constant current, whatever I set it at, until it gets to a certain point. Then it'll switch to constant voltage, and it'll try its best to individually charge each one the same. So there it shows it. It's going to throw 2.5 amps at it, and everything starts over. Again, it shows all the individual cells, and we're going to leave this sit for a while. It's probably going to take another hour and a half to fully charge, and it'll sit there once it gets almost fully charged, and it'll fluctuate. I'll show you. It'll sit there about half an amp or even less. It'll go to 0.1 amps, and it'll sit there and try to balance charge it. But usually what happens is one cell gets a little charge higher than the rest, and it's kind of overboard, so it'll stop eventually once one cell gets higher than the rated voltage. So now it's been approximately 90 minutes. It's been an hour and a half, and it's still just trickling away. You can see it actually will stop for a while. Right now it's not doing anything, it's just looking and watching the voltage, it's watching all the cells. It's at 20.48, so it's really close, and then it'll decide after a while, okay, this cell or that cell needs a little bit more power, so it'll throw some power back in at it. 0.1, 2, it just gives a little bit, and then it'll stop, and it watches all the cells again, and it seems like one's just a little bit overcharged, and the rest are just not quite there. So it might sit at this and do it all day. That's what it's trying to do. It's trying to balance. Now, if it would have been under just normal charge, it would have quit by now. Or a fast charge, it definitely would have quit by now. But since it's under balance, it's trying its best to get it perfectly balanced. Usually it'll overcharge it one cell a little bit, like you saw the other battery was from the DeWalt charger. But it won't be too dramatic. It should be closer. So I'll let that sit for a minute. And it might beep and quit, or it might sit there all day, like I said. But it's been approximately an hour and a half now from the half charge on there, and you can see the power that's gone back into it. It's 21. It's almost been 2,200 milliamps. So it's Getting closer, but it's still not, I don't think it's going to hit the whole 2500, but it might if you let it sit long enough. And you know, that is to be expected. This battery is a new battery. It's 2015. I got it, probably May. I don't remember when right after the new weed whacker came out. And I probably had it discharged and charged, maybe 25 times. So, and right there, the life obviously is going to decrease after, one charge. It's always going to get worse. It's never going to get better. It's part of life. It's part of those batteries. So I'm happy to, if it would say we got, we're at almost 2200. So it's, it's only about 300 milliamps off of what it says it'll take. So that's not bad. That's really not that bad at all. I was thinking originally it would be more like a whole amp off. But right now I'm just going to stop it because I want to hook up this other battery to it. And like I said, it's not even charging half the time. It's kind of just sitting there balancing. It's letting everything just kind of even itself out, So that's pretty good. We'll call it charged. Now we will take it off before I unhook it and look. Oh, this dang thing keeps coming out. I don't know why. Now I will hook it up to the balance meter. This little thing here, and it'll show what it says it is. It's 5 cell again. 20.5. Pretty darn close. 4.08. 4.04. That one's a little less. 4.18 now. That one's pretty high. 4.1, 4.11. So it isn't actually as balanced as I was hoping it would be. One cell is significantly higher than it should be. So that's part of it. It's hard to balance it. And now if you really want to get technical, you could make yourself a little plug, and you could start plugging in each individual cell. They kind of go into series, so we could identify. According to this, it was the third cell maybe, or the second. So we could figure out which one of these it is and plug in a negative and a positive. And we could individually charge the low cell that was in there, or discharge the high one since it's, plenty high. I'm not going to worry too much about it though. So there you have it. Is it more balanced than it was in the beginning? Maybe. Maybe not. Is it more balanced than this other one off the DeWalt charger? Probably about the same. So, in the end, it might not be any better than the DeWalt charger. It actually overcharged a little bit. On one last note, I think it'd be really cool, and I think it'll happen eventually, with technology, and people are getting smarter, and they like this stuff, batteries, and they like to know what's going on, and these are pretty basic chargers, of course, but there is room for improvement, and it'd be great if it had maybe a display like what this charger has right built into it, that you could select and say, you know what, I want a storage charge. I'm not going to use this battery all winter, so press storage, or even just have some sort of voltage indicator. There's so many things that this charger can do, and it actually has on the side here, you can plug it in. I've never used it, a temperature probe. So there probably is a way you could incorporate, temperature into this thing I made. I mean, the batteries already have a temperature slot, so, and some of you probably used one of these and discharged it, and it's been hot, and plugged it into the charger, and it won't charge for a while until it cools down. So, it is possible, probably, to hook this up, but like I said at the beginning, all these, I'm pretty good about letting everything cool down before I charge it. So I would really like to see, a manufacturer, and I don't know who will do it first, but maybe DeWalt will get the idea, since I'm suggesting it, to, incorporate. People like, to see what's going on, and, a voltage indicator would be great, or even, a discharge function for some reason. If you say, I fully charge this battery, I don't want to leave it fully charged all winter, and I'd like to discharge it to half charge or something. There's a million things it could display just like this one will do that a lot of people probably don't care about, but it would be neat. I think a lot of people would actually like to see what's, and have a selectable function, fully charged, half charged, and of course to see exactly how much power is going into it. Again, here's this fancy little doodad I made. It'd be really cool if some guy out there would make one. so I don't have to tear apart a perfectly good charger to make one. So after running all of these tests and basing all the imbalancing and balancing on one little voltage detector, I decided to run a few of them together because I wondered if for some reason this wasn't reading one cell high. And it turns out it was a little off, but not by much. We plugged into this pack, it says 12.5, 4.15, 4.17, 23. 151723. Here's another one just like it, brand new. 12.5. 1.5, that's the same. 1.8 reads the second one a little higher, and reads the third one right on the money. So there you have it. This one might not be completely accurate, but you know, we're talking 1/100th of a volt. That's pretty small, hard to read. Here's another cheap one I got. 12.5. 314, read that one lower, read that one same. Read the third one last, a little less. So turns out, you know, maybe the batteries were a little more in balance than I thought, which is good. So that's another factor. There's a lot of factors here. What I'm saying should not all stand 100% correct. You know, this is just one test scenario. So I'm not a rocket surgeon, and all this stuff, there's a lot of variables and a lot of factors, but you know, this gives you a rough idea of how some of this stuff works. So thanks for watching.